Welcome viewers to another brand new episode of Mirror Prime. It's me Ashish Pareek, and again we'll be talking cricket on the show today. The Indian men's cricket team is in complete shambles following the 3-1 series defeat in the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. One after the other, a series of leaks have exposed the massive divide within the dressing room. It's all but clear that everything is not right in Team India. The BCCI, of course, to understand what really happened in Australia, recently held a review meeting to understand what exactly went wrong in the series, not just the Australia series, but also the New Zealand series. Why is Team India not performing to the mark? As per sources, head coach Goutam Gambhir, who was in that particular meeting, blamed indiscipline among the team's ranks as the reason why players' family should also be restricted and why the performance is also dipping. Gambhir is also said to have expressed displeasure with the attitude of youngsters, saying that young players in the Indian team should be strictly dealt with. There are also reports that Gambhir feels that there is absolutely no unity within the team, citing how there was only one team dinner that took place during the 1.5-month-long Australia tour. In fact, in light of the recent events, sources now suggest that the BCCI has decided to further crack the whip on players. It is being suggested that personal staff of players will now not be allowed with them during an entire tour. This is in order to ensure that whatever happens inside the dressing room stays within the dressing room. However, it isn't just the players facing the fire. Sources are also now reportedly unhappy with the entire KKR model that has been imposed in the team, with majority of Gambhir's former colleagues now a part of the dressing room. The BCCI has also reportedly questioned Gambhir about the role of assistant coach Ryan ten Duskate and whether Abhishek Nair is up to the task or not. It is also being reported that the board is planning to rope in a seasoned domestic cricketer, Sitanshu Kotak, as the assistant batting coach. So, lots happening as far as Team India is concerned, and of course, we'll be talking about that in detail. Joining us right now, Vedam Jaishankar, sports journalist, Joseph Hua, who's a cricket writer, and Nikhil Sharma, who's a well-known sports commentator and author. Nikhil, I'll start with you now. Again, this is the review meeting that we're talking about, and Goutam Gambhir has been talking a lot in these meetings about what's going wrong with Team India, why the team did not perform in Australia. Now, there's not been a single word about the seniors not performing. Let's keep that aside. One of the things that is coming out from this particular meeting is that Goutam Gambhir spoke about indiscipline being the reason why the team wasn't performing well. Now, Nikhil, tell me one thing. Even if the team was disciplined, when you have a captain, a senior player who's averaging 6 in the entire series, when you have your star batsman like Virat Kohli failing to make runs, would discipline have helped? Do you think this is misplaced priority there by Goutam Gambhir? The fact that he's talking about discipline, youngsters, leagues, everything. But at the end of the day, who's going to bell the cat? Who's going to ask these senior players when are they going to retire if they don't perform?
Well, Ashish, you've raised a very pertinent point. They say success has many fathers, but I think failure has a lot of excuses. If it was the same team that would have had a massive success, a 2-1 win or a 2-0 win, 3-0 win, we wouldn't be hearing all of these issues that are being raked up now. Mind you, if we remember the series that we won earlier there, Virat Kohli actually returned back after the first test itself in Australia. And then we went on to win that series 2-1. Everybody, in the euphoria, never got down to why somebody had to leave, why somebody was there, why, who performed, who didn't perform. So what typically happens, Ashish, and I think at this point in time, is that everything is being trying to be sorted. I do agree to a certain bit. We've spoken about it often that a quorum is required in a team, and that is for the coach and the captain to maintain. I think Rohit should have initially itself said, look, I'm unavailable for the first test. But if you remember, till the time the team reached there, they were training there, we were never sure, what the starting lineup would be for the first test. So all of these things mask the entire tour in a lot of mystery. I think clear communication, concise communication, everything done as per team rules that they've set well within themselves would have helped the team a lot. But if you're failing, then always questions will be asked, and it's a tough tour, Australia. Ashish?
Absolutely, Nikhil. Well put, because this is exactly what we've been talking about. The fact that the team now is talking about the coach, head coach is now talking about the fact that the wives and the families of the players being on tour has affected that performance. Now, nobody would have been talking about it if the players had played well. So the bottom line is that the players at the end of the day have to put the performance on the field, and if they had performed well, nobody would even mind their second cousins being in the stands, because again, all that matters is the performance. Now, Vedam, one of the other things that's coming out of this entire conversation, we are being told, one of the things that Gambhir has spoken about in this particular review meeting is the fact that there was only one team dinner in the entire tour, which is of course 1.5 months stay that the Team India had there in Australia. There was only one single team dinner. Now he says that this shows the lack of unity in the team. Vedam, now whose responsibility is it to get the team together? It's the coach, it's the manager's responsibility. So if Gambhir says there's no unity, the team wasn't even having dinner together, I think he's basically saying he's not done his job.
Yeah, I suppose so. When you say that a team that eats together stays together, if you have that kind of an approach, yes, you would have to eat together, stay together, breakfast together, and things like that. But I think a lot of questions need to be asked, not just of the team and the captain and the coach. What about the selectors? Now, when your opening statement, you made a very pertinent remark. Now, if a guy has got an average of 6, it's not the first time. He has not failed. He has not done well abroad. He has not been a good batsman abroad. He's just lost a series 3-0 to New Zealand. How do you retain him as a captain? Why don't you look into that? The problem starts with there. Once, a high tide lifts all boats. When you're winning, all this is forgotten. But when you're losing, you need to go back to the roots of what you've done wrong, And the wrong thing is right from the time you've chosen the captain. And then the players, and then the coach, and then the support staff. Everything is a problem. Yes, Goutam Gambhir, maybe the coach doesn't have a big say in winning or losing, but he is there to ensure that the players get the right amount of prop. Their confidence is boosted and gives them the right opportunities and ensures you don't nitpick. Now, if there has been nitpicking, how did it come out into the media? Now, that's also something that the BCCI has to check. It's not like somebody saying that Goutam Gambhir brought his PA to breakfast, he brought his PA to the box. Now, that means there is some sort of leak going on. And the leak is not coming just from the dressing room. It's coming from everywhere. So this BCCI itself looks like it's got so many leaks. It's quite incredible. And
now, Vedam, the problem is earlier when you had leak, there was almost a similar sort of a pattern that you saw across all publications, all media houses. A similar sort of reports used to come in. Now it almost feels like everyone has their own set of leak that's coming in, and you wonder if it's actually a leak or if it's a PR planned a news report that's coming out, because everyone seems to have a different version of the same event.
Yes,
and interestingly, Harsha Bhogale also mentioned that one of the things that should be banned from the team is the PR agency.
Yes, everybody's got his own agents, and the agents are busy. They need to worry about their commission. So they need to plant news. And that's exactly what's happening. It's reached a stage, and such a ridiculous stage that is that, the agents decide when you have to retire. You can't even retire when you want to retire. The agents will look at your brand value, how it will fall or rise, and they will tell you when to retire. They will tell you which series to pick and choose. And that's the problem that's going on right now. I think the BCCI has handed over too much of power to the agents. Whether it is done deliberately or not, we don't know. But the way it is going, it's not BCCI which is calling the shots. And that's the tragic part of the Indian cricket right now.
Absolutely.
It's not
absolutely, with a very pertinent point that you're making there. And it was hilarious to see the likes of Vidya Balan and Farhan Akhtar actually tweet out in favor of Rohit Sharma, who's now able to put bat on ball and not even averaging 5 or 6 in the entire series, about the supreme sacrifice that the captain made for the team's sake in the last test match by keeping himself out. But let's not get that. That's not the point of discussion today. We're of course talking about the review meeting. And Joseph, one of the other points that also came about, one of the other things that was also discussed, Vedam, we'll come to that. Vedam. Let's take it point by point. Joseph, the other thing that was also mentioned apparently in the meeting was about the youngsters not being disciplined enough, and that there needs to be some sort of a strictness that the youngsters should be dealt with. Now, throughout the series, there were multiple videos that went viral about Rohit Sharma screaming at younger teammates, and of course, a lot of people say he has that sort of a bond with youngsters But at the end of the day, now when the head coach says that youngsters should be dealt with strictly, what about the seniors? Because at the end of the day, most of the runs and most of the wickets, except for Bumrah, were taken by youngsters. So it was youngsters who were actually saving Team India's face there. The ones that were disappointing us were seniors. So if anyone that is to be dealt with strictly, it is the seniors, not the youngsters.
See, coming back to Goutam Gambhir, he doesn't have the guts to blame Rohit Sharma or even Virat. They might have been in poor form. They didn't need to be in the side. He should have taken the call. To talk about youngsters, that the youngsters are indisciplined, then what the hell was he doing as the coach? And what was the manager doing on the tour?
Correct.
If they found somebody to be indisciplined, they should have been disciplined. You come out to a meeting and then you start talking about this indiscipline in the team. Whose responsibility is that? If you're not capable of handling the team, you step away. Let some other coach come in and lead the boys. You just can't make such statements and see leaks coming out of the dressing room, whatever. It has been there for the past 40 years. We have all been part of that. We know who comes out with all these messages. There have been senior cricketers or commentators who also come out and tell us what's happening within the dressing room. I've been part of the tours. So I know what happens. But for Gambhir to talk about indiscipline among in the team is ridiculous. He being the coach, he should have called them up. He said, listen, you're not going to be doing this again. I don't want this to happen again. It's his job. And he has failed. He has to accept that. He's been a former India player. He's a former India captain. He knows how things work. He knows the dynamics of the team. You just can't go to a team meeting, to a board meeting and say, these guys did this. Safraz Khan was the guy who, leaked whatever has been happening in the dressing room. You should not single out any player. He said, it's his responsibility. He just said, okay, we have failed. We're going to build this team. Let's take this forward. To blame these youngsters is very, very unfair. And I don't think Gambhir has the right to say this, because if he was so very disciplined, he should have ensured his manager was not traveling with the team, not traveling in the team bus. He should have sorted it out himself. Today, just because something has been leaked in public, you're trying to say all these boys are indisciplined, they don't deserve to be in the team, they should be chastened. This is not what a coach is expected to be. He's got to be more mature.
Absolutely. Goutam Gambhir really has to take responsibility. I mean, we've already lost. It's been an embarrassing loss in the white ball format against Sri Lanka. We've lost against New Zealand. We've lost against Australia. I don't know how long we are going to persist with Goutam Gambhir. And I think really, if the BCCI is serious about Indian cricket, I think Champions Trophy is going to be the last straw for Goutam Gambhir. And of course, the team does have to come together. But the problem here is that India's white ball cricket seems a little sorted. The problem is with red ball cricket. It seemed to improve, but then again we seem to be back to the era where actually we were struggling overseas. But again, one of the other developments that's coming in, and Nikhil, I want your opinion on this, is today there's a cricketer who's the most searched cricketer on Cricinfo, and I was actually looking up the stats. It is actually true. This is Shitanshu Kotak. Now, a lot of people might be wondering who is Shitanshu Kotak. Now, this is a player whose name is doing the rounds as the next batting coach of India. Some say he's going to be the assistant batting coach. Some say he's going to be the batting coach. Again, we are not really sure of that. We'll wait for an official confirmation. And there was also another report that said Goutam Gambhir has asked for him to be the batting coach. Now, this brings me to the question. Now, if you look at India's support staff, alongside Goutam Gambhir, you have Abhishek Nair, you have Ryan Duskate, you have Mone Mokkal. It's basically the KKR model that's been copy-pasted even in Team India. Now, if Shitanshu Kotak becomes the batting coach, we really need to question, what is Abhishek Nair doing? What is Ryan Duskate doing? What are these people doing? Why do you have so many people? I mean, I don't understand. Abhishek Nair was the batting coach in KKR. Now, he was brought in. Basically, his official role is assistant coach. But at the end of the day, he's the batting coach. If he isn't doing his job, who's doing the job? It's a complete mess right now.
Well, Ashish, if you look at coaches all across the world, and if you look at coaching staff across sport as well, the head coach predominantly has that disposition to bring in people that he wants to work with, that he's comfortable with, that he feels will translate and transform and give the message that he wants to give in terms of the team strategy, the technicalities of it to the players as well. From that respect, it looks fairly okay that Goutam Gambhir got the staff that he wanted. Indian cricket being, the animal that it is, it also requires a lot of understanding of who these players are, where are the power circles, because there are, right? There are power centers in Indian sport, whether you or me like it or we don't like it. There are a lot of younger boys who tend to get attached to these power centers, fortunately or unfortunately, because when you saw Rahul Dravid come in, I thought, he had that a little bit of stability because he had some of the support staff carried over from, the previous coach as well. So it was easier for them to adjust to a new coach. His style was very different, but I think Goutam Gambhir is a slightly different coach. He wants it to be my way or highway. Has it been my way or the highway? No, I don't think so. That's also because, there are essentially with both Rohit and Virat,
it's been no way.
They're extremely...
It's basically a roadless journey right now for Team India.
He's trying. I think he tried very hard. But when he says that there was no team dinner, well, let me tell you, in world sport, anywhere, if a coach says that you've got to have food together from, say, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., just as an example, and if there's somebody turning up after 10 p.m. or before 9 p.m., I don't think that's ever acceptable. You cannot skip team dinners. You cannot go out, eat on your own. So I don't know what he really means if he's actually gone ahead and told BCCI that there was no team dinner. So there are lots of things up in the air. Why is your manager traveling with the team? He has no business to be there unless he's trying to sort something out for you. Your staff should be looking at it. Then, there are lots of other things that he's supposedly mentioned, because I'm not aware of it. People talk about agents and people. Look, players have a finite life. They have all the right to maximize what they want to. But having said that, I now have a feeling, because of this central contracts and how big they are and how big the advertising world out there is, or the sponsorship world is out there, I think some of these players are holding on for far too long, because their support staff,
absolutely,
their managers, their
and
PR teams,
I think the travesty in this entire matter,
afford.
and I think Joseph, it was who was making this particular point a couple of weeks ago, the fact that some of these players now playing Ranji, we are celebrating it. I think there's no bigger travesty than that. And of course, I mean, we really need to reflect if this is the culture that we need to have in Indian cricket. And I've been told we've just got a couple of minutes, and before we wrap, Vedam, I need to get your opinion on this now. A player like Karun Nair, Abhimanyu Iswaran, they're scoring truckloads of runs in domestic cricket. If you were Karun Nair today, would you be planning your next innings, or would you be trying to see what's the best PR agency in town? Be honest.
No, I think Karun Nair is a peculiar case. He got a 100 and was dropped the next test because they had to make way for somebody. They shattered his confidence. Let's get that right. They just shattered his confidence. Abhimanyu Iswaran, yes, there's been a lot said, but
Absolutely.
He went on the India tour and didn't get runs. Had he scored runs in Australia with the India tour, then maybe there would have been a different tale to tell. But he didn't get runs. But they still kept him. But Karun Nair, you're absolutely right. He's got so much of runs. And now there's no need of talking about a third guy. They're talking about somebody else who has been ducking bouncers and running away from bouncers. Suddenly, all the media you pick up is only talking about him. So obviously, there are plans. There are big plans. Now, are the selectors going to fall for these plans? Or, like you said, go according to what this guy has done? He's got a 100 in international cricket. So the guy has got stuff behind him. Yes, and he's scoring bucketful of runs. Even today, I think he made about 88 not out. So he's making bucketful of runs. You cannot ignore that kind of form, And if the selectors are ignoring it, then they're marching to a totally different drum.
Absolutely. In fact, he's not just scoring runs on the domestic level, he's even scored a 100 on the international levels. And here you have players going on and on for 30-40 test matches even without scoring a double century. And I think really if Indian cricket has to move forward, we really need to get out of this mindset of having a prince, having a king, having a hitman. I really think we need to prioritize players who put their head down, score runs in domestic cricket. And this is exactly the formula that got us players like Sachin, Saurabh, Rahul Dravid, VVS Lakshman, and I really think for us to succeed in red ball cricket, that has to be the formula. Vedam, Joseph and Nikhil Sharma, it's been wonderful talking to you, and of course we'll connect again. Hopefully our Champions Trophy squads are announced as well at the earliest, but thank you for joining us on this episode of Mirror Prime. And viewers, on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of the broadcast. Lots more lineup on the other side. Stay tuned.